could not handle issues well, and that is why the problems of those countries actually snowball into violent conflicts where human lives are lost, where properties are destroyed. Most of the problems you have in the society in Africa today is as a result because the leaders did not know how to manage those issues, the issues emanating from their countries very well. That is why we're having these issues. So I look at Africa as having majorly the problem of leadership. And until we are lucky to have the right set of people manning the country, I think we'll run into problem. We've had some flashpoints. Look at a country like Rwanda within the past few days that everybody they tend to be clapping hand for Rwanda, that Rwanda is doing well, courtesy of the leader there who has been doing some certain things right in harnessing resources and human beings to get best results. Though he is not a saint, though he has his own problems, but majorly the world is applauding that he's doing certain things right. And that is why that country that some 25, 26, 27 years ago was embroiled in the worst kind of human conflict, in genocide, that it is coming back to be a superpower in the heart of Africa. So it is majorly a problem. Look at a country like Nigeria. We have all the resources. Nigeria have all the resources that any other country will envy. Look at Congo. Congo has all the natural resources that people should envy, but those countries are embroiled in conflict. Congo, on the other side, in conflict that has lasted since their independence. Nigeria, in recent days, is embroiled in a conflict that is partly attributed to poor leadership. So I think leadership is the main problem that is plaguing Africa, and until this problem is sorted out, Africa will still be in the woods.
So if we have leadership, is this based on some ideological type of leadership, or just leadership is leadership? I mean...
Yes, leadership is leadership. I don't think ideology produces good leadership. I mean, the leadership, because one, look at the human nature. People perceive things differently. We had good communists. We also had bad communists. We had good capitalists. We also had bad capitalists. So even in the traditional setting, we've had good traditional rulers that we can look up to. We can mention their names in Nigeria. We also had clowns on the throne. In this same country, we also had clowns on the throne in Europe and in America and in other parts of the world. So what we are looking at is not about ideology. It's about the human quality. It's about the human quality, not necessarily ideology. A people can do well having leadership. We even have some good military rulers who came up as leaders. Most of the achievements we have today in Nigeria, most of the achievements we have, of the good things we have in Nigeria, were put up by certain persons in the military. That is why we still clap hand for people like Murtala Muhammad. We still clap hand for some of these past leaders who were military officers. So it is not about ideology. It's about the quality of humans that is on the seat of leadership in any part of the world that we are talking about. Unfortunately, in Africa, we have majority of them being the bad eggs that are really leading the continent into the abyss.
Okay, will you say that vision plays a major role in the development of a people? For instance, if we had a Pan-Africanist leadership in terms of vision, would we have been different in a different situation today rather than the Eurocentric one?
Yes, vision is good, but vision is not enough when we are talking about leadership. It is good to be visionary. It's good to have men of vision. In fact, if you see the worst performing leaders in Africa, in Nigeria, for example, had the best visions. Just I don't want to mention them. Look back at the people that have led us, from 1999. You notice that when they are about leading, or when they are about contesting election, or when they are planning coup, before 1999, they give you the vision that anybody can buy into. Even angels in heaven will be happy that, for such a person that is coming, look at the coup speech, it was very good. Look at the manifesto he's giving, what appears to be manifesto in Nigeria. It's very sound when he's coming in. But that is vision. But has that ever translated to good leadership? No. So it is not enough to have vision. It is good to match that vision, to marry that vision with execution. So if you don't have the idea, if you don't have that mental capital to be able to go through your vision, how it can be executed, then you still remain a bad leader, because you could have even read the vision of some pages of textbooks, could have seen it on television. Maybe some other person in another country is talking that I will provide water for everybody, and you also copy that because you are contesting election. So people will claim that, oh, that's your vision. It is not. You can't implement it. That is why we came up in the Abuja Leadership Center, the idea of Abuja Leadership Center, that look, it is not enough to have people say, I have vision. People should be trained to lead. We have abandoned that particular component in our leadership recruitment. Anybody has money can buy form to run in APC, 100 million naira. Anybody has 50 million can buy form, irrespective of where you get the money to run in PDP and other political parties. It is not enough to have people who can buy form to run for offices simply because they come on television and on newspapers to talk about vision. It is not enough to have vision. Do you have the capacity to translate that vision to reality? Most of these guys don't. And they may have read off that vision from off the pages of textbooks at night. In the morning, they come out, they tell you that they have a vision. No. Can this person actually get things done? For me to say, for instance, I can say I can make bottled water. That is a vision. I will make bottled water. I will produce bottled. That is a vision. Do I know how to get it done? The wherewithal, the nitty-gritty of producing bottled water, that it's not only about having water in your backyard, that you need to have something to know about plastics, how they work, how they inflate plastics, and whatever the safety issues, and how to employ human beings to do one thing or the other. So goes a lot beyond having water in your backyard for you to produce bottled water. So leadership is beyond visioning. Yes, anybody can vision. Even when I was a child, I told my mom then that I would be riding an aeroplane when I grow up. Up till now, I can't fly a kite. That was vision. But I am not trained to be a pilot. I've never been trained to be a pilot, even though I had always wished that I would be a pilot. But since I was not trained, so I cannot fly an aeroplane. I cannot fly an helicopter. So that vision dies because I've not been trained. So in leadership recruitment in Africa, we must find a way of incorporating training in the way we in our leadership recruitment process, so that we have people who not only have vision, but people who have the wherewithal, the capacity to actually actualize this vision. I think that is what we are lacking in Africa.
If I understand you well, sorry, ideology is not primary, vision is not primary. What is primary is action.
Yes.
In leadership.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at our own history as Africans. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown by the United States. Togo was overthrown by France. Patrice Lumumba in the DRC was assassinated by the Belgians. Will you say that what the West has done has been to cripple Africa of good leadership after independence?
Yes. Yes and no. And not necessarily to cripple Africa of good leadership. Because when you look at it, the West, they do these things because they are looking for someone who's more capable, someone that can control to push their own economic interests outside their shores. It's happening. There is hardly any coup. There is no coup in Africa that is not sponsored. There's no coup. Even the ones happening recently in some countries in Africa, if you check very well, you have the imprint of the imperialists. The moment they want to get certain things done and they cannot get their way, the next thing is for them to gather one or two officers, give them the arms, give them money, and tell them to go ahead and topple the government so that they can work with them. If you notice, whenever there is coup in Africa, the people that will really kick against that coup are the fellow African countries. The Western Bloc will just make one or two statements. The following week, they say they are going to work hand in hand with the new administration, achieve the next election, and blah, 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 blah. So, they did not set Africa of good leadership. They set out to achieve their market aims, their economic aims, and they are still doing it. Sponsoring coups. Nowadays, they are not even sponsoring coups again. It's no longer popular, except in few countries that they are still trying to do in Africa. But nowadays, they find another way of actually blackmailing these African leaders into getting their way into their tilt. And it's a sad situation that the African leaders are falling into this trap every now and then. So I'm not blaming entirely the problem of leadership. Powers who have, and I think this is a lack of knowledge, because if you look at the post-colonials, the independence, these guys were trained. These guys were trained. You check the citations. These guys, these leaders, the Ezekiels of this world, the Nkrumahs of this world, the Awolowos of this world, were well trained in leadership. Yes, they went to school. They know how to get things done, how to implement things, how to execute things. So during that time, the Madubelos of this world, these guys were trained in the leadership that they were in. That is why it showed in their policies, in their programs, in their ways of thinking, in execution. But after these guys, after their generation, you notice that people just came up. People just emerged. Someone could be 419 as of 1997, and by 98 he is running for Senate. Someone who was a 419er and was arrested, or a criminal and armed robber that was arrested by 1996, by 1999 he became a governor of a state. And those things keep happening, and before you know what is happening, court cases here and there. But these are the guys that are running Nigeria. They recycle them. They are still there, still running the country. In other African countries, it's the same story. That is why we are having problems. The West may have sponsored coup d'etats here and there, but the problem of leadership in Africa is because these people, most of the people you see on the scene, lacks the capacity. They don't understand what leadership implies. They lack the capacity to run even a kindergarten class, and that is why we're having these issues.
Thank you very much. This is Diplomatic Hour with Owei Lakemfa on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. And our guest today is Professor Philip Afaha. Prof, thank you very much. When we started Africa, we believed in multilateral relations, multilateralism. And even when the two superpowers came up, the US and the USSR, which is now Russia, more or less, we came up with a third front also, aligned movement. But since then, the world has, we seem to have said the unipolar world in the image of the United States. Is this a correct assessment, or people are mistaken when they make such analysis?
Yes. Even on aligned movement, I've been telling my students that even they're not yes, we try to portray it as if it was a strategic foreign policy posture, but it was an escapist arrangement because Africa was afraid. It's like fighting. They who are wise enough would not want to take side in such a fight, because at the end of the day, these are your parents. At the end of the day, these are the people that will pay for you. So children normally pray against their parents fighting. I think that was where Africa found itself in those days. So they said that they are not aligned because they do not want to offend the East or not offend the West in this big fight. When two elephants fight, the grass must take cover. So Africa was the grass then. So Africa had to take cover to make sure that it is not hot as a result of this fight. Yes, the perception now, people say that we have accepted a unipolar world. Africa does not have any other option than to accept the reality. The reality is that there is a unipolar world now, and Africa does not have any option. It has to align. It's not only Africa that is aligning. Of course, if you look at what is playing out globally. Most countries in Americas and most countries in Europe now have to come to terms with the reality that we are living in a unipolar world. So you see some countries, even in the former Eastern Bloc, joining NATO, trying to befriend the Western powers at all costs, even at the cost of war in their countries, trying to befriend the Western powers, because it's a survival instinct. It's a survival strategy. For you to survive in the current world, you have to find a way to befriend the victors of that war between the West and the East, and that the victors of this war are the Western Bloc. Currently, the problems going on in Ukraine and other parts of Europe is as a result of the Russian establishment trying to resist that establishment. That reality. The reality is that your neighbors are now trying to align more with the West because they believe that their economy will be more secured. Apart from the military issue that they are talking about, their economy will be more secure. They will be open to more opportunities by aligning to the West. So Africa adopted non-alignment because Africa did not have any other option to choose from than non-alignment, because at that time nobody was so sure immediately after the Second World War, nobody was so sure who is going to come tops between the West and the East. So it was partly a country like Nigeria would rub shoulders with the communist East, and some people were sent to train as scholars in their schools, and on the other side they are rubbing shoulders with the Commonwealth, with the West, trying to also befriend both sides to make sure that it doesn't offend any, because nobody was sure. But now the picture is that there is a unipolar world. Yes, there is tussle here and there. There is push from China, from Russia, from other countries to see that this unipolar world is dismantled. But so far, we are still in a unipolar world.
Okay, so there's no option in that case. In that case, all we need to do is accept the reality and just accept what is on ground.
Yes, I would say yes or no on accepting what is on ground, because you cannot say what we have now is the El Dorado, is what everybody has been praying for. What we have now is not what everybody had wished for, but the reality is that it's a unipolar world. You can only swim through this ocean by being very strategic in swimming through the unipolar system, ocean system. But the reality is that there's a unipolar world. It might not be the best, it is not the best, but that is the reality. And Africa must learn how to swim through these murky waters of international politics currently playing out. We are in a unipolar world. It has not been replaced yet. Yes, there are pushes from here and there, but you notice that as of today, that war, that unipolar war, has not been replaced.
Okay, thank you very much. Prof, I know you're an expert also in diplomatic studies. Diplomacy seems to have been defeated in many parts of the world. In Ukraine, for instance, you mentioned, in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen, Palestine. I think Africa is in any position to lead the world out of such a quagmire that we find ourselves?
Africa, unfortunately, is not in a position to lead the world out of the current quagmire that we have. To think that Africa is in a position to lead the world out of the quagmire will amount to missing the whole point, and I think that will be comedy of the highest order. Africa has problems. Her own problems, and her own problems are more teething than the problem that is enveloping other parts of the world. So Africa already is in a position of a beggar. Africa is even looking up. Africa is looking up to those countries that are having problems. Even Ukraine. You notice that when the cereal crisis started in Ukraine as a result of the war, the most hit part of the world is Africa. We now buy bread, 1,000 naira a loaf of bread, as against 300 naira some months ago. So you notice what we are passing through, that we are looking up to even a country that is at war. So Africa cannot help the world to get out of the current problems. What Africa needs to do is for Africa to be strategic. Africa needs to be strategic. Yes, it has to be a little more assertive, but it has to be very, very strategic in swimming out of these the waters of diplomacy currently. But Africa does not have solution to the current problem bedeviling the international system. Africa can only watch and be strategic and know when to bend, when to run, when to dodge, and when to say things. Watch and be strategic and know when to bend, when to run, when to dodge, and when to say things, so that you are not hit by this stray bullet that is being fired by the two superpowers. Russia is facing the United States squarely. Ukraine is just a proxy, and the Chinese are on the wings, also flexing muscles. And when you look at all these things playing out, Africa must continue to be very, very strategic, but that a truce currently. Maybe if we had people like Mandela when he was still alive, maybe we could have used his personality, because he was respected across the world, both by Chinese, by Russians, and by Americans. We would have used such a person to say, okay, he's calling for a truce. He has invited America and Russia to come to Pretoria for a meeting. But after somebody like Mandela, I don't see any other African leader that has that clout personally to actually intervene. And we don't have the troops to intervene. Economically, we are also at the level of a beggar. So Africa cannot give grants, Africa cannot give aid. Africa can only, for now, look up to the world to see how it can survive, until maybe when we have the best leadership that can extricate us from some of these things that are tying us down.
So there can be no initiative from Africa?
Yes, I have said that if when we had somebody like Nelson Mandela, who was a globally respected personality from Africa, he would have done so. But African leaders have done so badly that they cannot even summon their village councils now, apart from through the use of government influence or coercion. They can't, because they are doing so badly. Their popularity rating is so low currently, except somebody like the Rwanda man Kagame. But what is playing out in the world now, Africa can't intervene from the level of at the level of leadership. Maybe we have some Africans who are in the international system, people like Okonjo Iweala and the ADB man, maybe at that level, at the economic level, beyond the state level, they can actually do one or two things to get the world right. Of course, we see what this African who is at the World Health Organization been trying to stabilize the world health system. Ethiopian. Yeah, the Ethiopian is doing pretty well. He's trying to stabilize the global system within the past 3 years because of this pandemic, over this pandemic that is happening, and is giving good leadership, is proving to be a good African leader, a capable African hand. And we see people like Okonjo Iweala at the World Trade Organization, who is also providing sensible leadership. The addition of the ADB and the rest of the Africans who are plying their trade at that level of diplomacy. But at the state level of diplomacy, I don't see any African leader now being able to pull strings in the current international imbroglio.
Well, Prof, we are in the world.
Yeah.
And we are affected by what goes on. The UN Security Council has led the world into the path of wars, like you had in Korea, you had in Iraq.
who are beneficiaries of the current UN system. What I mean by those countries, I think these are those countries that are protected by the rules of the UN Security Council and that allow they are dominating the international system. So apart from those countries, every other country in UN, if you watch the annual general meetings of UN year in, year out, it has been about the strident calls for the reform of the UN system. I remember when somebody like Gaddafi went berserk to the point of tearing the UN document on the floor of the General Assembly, and people like Robert Mugabe making some very loud calls for the reform of the UN. Even our presidents, from Obasanjo up to Buhari, have been seizing opportunities they have to actually call for the reforms of the UN. Now, what do they mean by reform of the UN? I think most of the time they are actually targeting I see the body language of Nigerian leaders, they are targeting at maybe reforming the UN to be able to include other countries, especially Nigeria, in the United Nations Security Council. I think their call for UN stops at the inclusion of Nigeria and maybe an Asian country or another minority country in the decision making of the Security Council. No one of them have been able to come out explicitly with what do we need to do, apart from including Nigeria. What do we need to really do to reform UN? I think on my own side, the aspect that should be reformed in the UN has to do about the structure of the UN Security Council itself, not just including Nigeria or any other country in that elite club, but to see how to amend the rules, amend the statutes of the Security Council to make it such that decision-taking can be done democratically. If you look at the UN Security Council system, it promotes minority decision. It promotes minority decision. While democracy promotes majority decision, the UN Security Council promotes minority decision. Irrespective of what the majority says, whatever the minority says is what is taken. I think that is sad for the international system, because you can hardly have a consensus, because at the end of the day, out of maybe there are 7 members there, by the time 5 of the members can actually say one thing, and the person that said no carries the day. And I think that is the problem, the knack in that Security Council system, that minority dictatorship that is the rule there. So that is the aspect I would want to be reformed, such that if you increase the numbers of the UN Security Council up to 10, when they sit down, if you have 6 people agreeing on a particular thing, that is what is implemented. But now you can say whatever you say. You cannot even impose sanctions on Russia now. You cannot impose sanctions on North Korea easily, because as you're about to vote, China can say they don't agree, and that stands. In their own language, China has vetoed what 5 other members were trying to do, and that's the end of that thing. And any other thing you are doing it unilaterally. It doesn't follow the rules of the mandate of the Security Council. That is the aspect I would want reform, so that if we bring in a country like Nigeria or South Africa or any other country that is qualified to be a member of that, it should be that you lobby your colleagues, that country lobbies its colleagues, and now if you have maybe 10, you can have 7 people taking a decision, and that is what is implemented, and not just one person that tries to play the bad man saying no. And each time you want to achieve something as a global body, you take a global consensus, one person says no, and that thing is not done. That is what I think should be handled first.
Let's look at Nigeria in Africa. Nigeria was known, I don't know whether it's still known as the giant of Africa, because people were expected to lead the continent. That has not happened. Did Nigeria fail Africa?
Yes. Nigeria did not only fail Africa, Nigeria failed the world. Nigeria failed herself. You see, there was a time, I think Nelson Mandela even alluded to that. when he said that the greatest disappointment that he had was that Nigeria has failed Africa, and Nigeria is not providing the leadership, the inspiration that Africa desired to be able to move forward. When we shout in Nigeria that we are the giant of Africa, I think we are talking about the population. We are the giant of Africa in population, not even in land size, because we have one or two other countries that have larger land sizes than Nigeria. I think we are talking about the population, because we have more population than other African countries. But leadership-wise, Nigeria is a total failure. Nigeria has failed, Africa has failed the world, because Africa was looking up to Nigeria to actually provide leadership, inspiration in most areas of life, technologically, educationally, militarily. I think we had some flashes, like when Nigeria organized other countries to set up ECOMOG and intervene in Liberia and Sierra Leone and be flexing those muscles. We remember when Nigeria intervened in the Congo. Yes, militarily in those days, Nigeria actually provided leadership. Everybody clapped for Nigeria, but can Nigeria achieve that? Can Nigeria do that now? No. Educationally, when Ibadan was set up and other universities, you notice that Nigeria was actually not only training Nigeria was training other Africans, and Nigeria was, even extending resources to other African countries to train them, to help them educationally through the technical aid corps and all whatnot. Can Nigeria actually do that now? No, those countries are better than Nigeria now educationally. Of course, as we are talking now, within the past 7 months, the youth are at home. They cannot go to school. They don't know when to go to school, because the country deliberately has turned anti-knowledge, anti-education. In fact, the whole country has been taken over by Boko Haram philosophy. The Boko Haram philosophy said that there should be no Western education. So the country now, officially, I think at the university level, has adopted that philosophy as its policy. So that everything, the tertiary education in the country is crumbled, and every other person is angry except government. Government is happy that it is like that. I think that is what is playing out. So then technologically, Nigeria, instead of going forward as it started in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, you started seeing at the beginning of 2000s, in the middle of 2000s, companies pulling out of Nigeria to Ghana and other African countries. A lot of companies are pulling to Ghana because their businesses could not be supported because the power system is bad. So in almost all facets of national life, in almost all endeavors, Nigeria is now drifting backward and backward and backward, and it is not very good. So that leadership is not there. Africa is right to say Nigeria has disappointed her. The world is saying Nigeria is right to say Nigeria has disappointed her. Even we Nigerians, we know that our country has really disappointed us. This is not where we wanted to be as a people. We expected to be far ahead of others. We expected to be like other countries. If India, that got independence almost the same time that we got independence, can fly to the moon, if India can develop a military carrier, if India could develop nuclear weapons, if India can dominate in ICT in the whole world, then where is Nigeria? We got our independence almost the same time with India, and I think it is not, the report card is bad as far as Nigeria is concerned.
Thank you, Prof. This is Diplomatic Hour with Owei Lakemfa on 93.7 FM Abuja. And we are speaking with Professor Philip Afaha, Director, Africa Leadership Center. Prof, there are those who might say, you mentioned Nigeria going to ECOMOG. There was a scenario where we had a military regime, the Abacha regime, and he sent troops to restore democratic rule in Sierra Leone. And even up to now, we have oil, but we export oil and then we import our finished products. There are those who say Nigeria is a riddle. Is this really so, or just lack of leadership?
Yes, we have been, like I said, we have been achieving all what we achieved. If you check most of those achievements, they fell during the military rule. You had the military presidents doing things here and there, sending troops to restore democracy in other countries, and later also handing over to democracy in Nigeria. And now we have petroleum. We are a petroleum crude oil country, but we are importing products of our crude oil from other countries at very exorbitant prices, and the country is all grinding to a halt over some of these issues. I think the picture is real. The picture is real. The situation is bad. It is not only about petroleum products. Nigeria has given up her place in so many areas apart from petroleum products, because everybody is concerned, so it's very popular. There are so many issues. The other day they brought goosey soup from China to Nigeria in a container, and people started buying, and now in our market we have gari that is manufactured, fried and manufactured in Ghana, in China, and brought to Nigeria. Our waterways have been taken over by the Asians. I'm from a riverine. I know that the shipping, the fishing boats in our waters, majorly from other countries of the world, from China and from other African countries, from Morocco. Those are people doing fishing in our waters, and we cannot even do our farming within the country because herdsmen have taken over people's land and whatever, all these things happening in Nigeria. I think Nigeria has gone so low, the picture is so dark and bleak that we need to not only keep praying, we have to exert our muscles to make sure that leadership recruitment is done right this time around. So the picture is not only that people are trying to be funny with it, it is real that the situation is bad. Petroleum is beyond petroleum products. So many things are now being brought into Nigeria. Those things that Nigeria had supposed to have comparative advantage are now being brought into Nigeria at very exorbitant prices. In fact, Nigeria is like a country that is in a war situation. It's a wartime economy. It's a wartime atmosphere for Nigeria.
Well, we host the headquarters of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. And between 2003 and 2015, the contribution of Nigeria to ECOWAS, combined, if you combine the contributions of 13 other members, Nigeria's own was still higher. Yet Nigeria still complains that they are marginalized in ECOWAS, and people are not being, recruited and other things like that, like the National Assembly raised a few weeks ago. What can Nigeria do? Or is it just that we are just made to serve or be slavish to others?
Yes, I refuse to accept that Nigeria is marginalized in ECOWAS. Yes, I know that there are some infrastructure of the sub-region that is not located in Nigeria, and unfortunately those infrastructure are the ones that are actually the employment generating infrastructure, like the Central Bank of West Africa, like the ECOWAS court. These are employment generating infrastructure of the units of the ECOWAS system. The ones we have here that was located to Nigeria is the ECOWAS Commission, the ECOWAS Parliament that's in Nigeria. That is where you have a few staff who sit there when the parliamentarians are coming for their session, and these people attend to them. But when you have the Central Bank of West Africa and these other ones are where employment has really done. But I'm also aware that in those units of ECOWAS system, they always usually advertise, and they usually also share positions to these West African countries, Nigeria included, so that one or two person can also come from Nigeria, another person come from Senegal. But of course, you don't expect Nigerians to go and provide cleaners job or to be security in another man's country. So definitely where those infrastructure are sited are likely going to have higher numbers of their persons employed in those places. You cannot go to the UN, where it is located in New York or wherever, to say that you want to have more staff than the United States of America. Because it's located there, most of their staff are going to come from the locality. Having said that, the issue of marginalizing Nigeria in the ECOWAS system, I don't think it is true, because Nigeria is one of the major beneficiaries. In fact, the major beneficiary of the ECOWAS system. Most of the products in the sub-region, enter any shop in Ghana, you notice that a large percentage of what you are going to see in the shops in Ghana are Nigerian products, made in Nigerian products. And if you go to any of these countries, Nigeria is only doing battle with the French. Apart from the French products that are statutorily imposed on those African countries because by their colonial masters, most of the products you see in their shops are Nigerian products. And if you want to calculate the number of persons that are actually going to make a living in another person's country, you find out that you have more Nigerians in Ghana than you have Ghanaians in Nigeria. So even the protocol on movement favors Nigeria more. You have more Nigerians in Togo than the Togolese in Nigeria. You have more Nigerians in Senegal than you have Senegalese in Nigeria. So I don't see Nigeria as being maybe shortchanged in the ECOWAS system. Rather, I see Nigeria not being very strategic in being able to harness the advantages of being the largest, the most powerful country in a sub-region like ECOWAS. Nigeria is not being strategic. Imagine throwing monies at Liberia, throwing monies at Sierra Leone, throwing monies here and there after the civil war and this thing. And what have we gotten out of those countries now? Absolutely nothing strategic. When the West is giving you, when the Western countries are giving you anything, they tie it to their economy. They tie it to the development of their countries. If America, for instance, says that they are giving Nigeria military ways, giving Nigeria a loan to fight insecurity, America is not giving Nigeria money to fight insecurity. America is actually paying money to American companies that are producing bombs, paying money to American companies that are producing truck, and those companies will bring their truck and deliver. So the money is in America. America is not giving you money. I think Nigeria has to be more assertive and more strategic in doing some of these things it does. This Father Christmas arrangement we are doing is not tied to our national development. It's not tied to our economy. That is why we appear to be shortchanged. But naturally, we benefit more from the ECOWAS system, apart from the French and recently the Moroccan incursion into the economy of West Africa. Nigeria stands tops in the country that is really benefiting from the union.
Yeah, Prof, thank you very much. You've made a lot of studies on leadership in Africa. Let's look at Nigeria really. Have we really had good leaders? Are we been blessed with good leaders? Do you have any examples? And be concrete when you say, okay, this is a good leader because these are you give the reasons.
Well, I cannot really point hand at any good leader. Nigeria has been so unlucky in leadership. I believe that in our lifetime, there will emerge in Nigeria someone that qualifies to be a good leader, because it's not enough for me to pick up one person now and say this is a good leader. If I say this is a good leader, it must be universal. Another person must agree that that person is really a good leader before it will be accepted. So if I say somebody is a good leader because that person came from my village and will happen to have been a president or a governor, I say he's a good leader. Why? Because maybe he used to give me one or two things when he comes to the village or whatever. That doesn't make that person a good. I'm not being objective, I'm subjective. Why? Because when I choose someone as a good leader, that person must be accepted by somebody in Kano that truly that is a good leader. And the person in Lagos must concur that that person is a good leader. And the person in Bauchi and Taraba must also concur that that person is a good leader. You cannot be a good leader only to your village people and expect me to come out here and say that you are a good leader simply because I'm from your village. You must be a good leader for Nigeria. You must be a Nigerian good leader. You must do things that everybody applaud to be the best. And most of your actions, 70% or 80% of your action must be altruistic. Nobody is expecting God or any of the angels to come and lead Nigeria. But 70 to 80% of your action and your decision of your policies must be altruistic. It must serve the people. It must be applauded by the people. It must make the people not to cry. But if you do maybe 20% of your actions are the only things that can be pointed that they are good, then you are not a good leader. You have failed the exams. Because in the examination, we score people from 50 and say that it's passed. So when you pick up a Nigerian leader that is only 10 or 20% of his actions can be seen to be altruistic, the rest was either being inspired by his corruption nature, his corrupt nature. The other one was being inspired by his nepotistic nature. The other thing he did was being inspired by whatever the reasons. So you cannot claim to be good. So we have not been blessed with a good leader. That is why we are doing advocacy here and there to educate Nigerian people for the need to have a good leader. And it starts at the recruitment stage. We are approaching elections. Every Nigerian must be alert to the reality that we must get it right. You must elect good leader both at the state level, at the Senate and House of Reps level, at the House of Assembly level, at the President level. Don't leave it to say it's politician for politics. No, leadership is too important to be left for politicians alone to decide. The people must arise to make sure that we get it right this time around in our state, in our local government, in the legislature, especially in at the level of the president. Because if we miss this opportunity, it means we are back to the dark. And that is not what we pray for.
But there are no basic criteria to assess who a good leader is.
Yes. There is only one criteria to assess good leadership. You must be altruistic. You must be altruistic. Everything you do must be seen to be altruistic, to be serving the public need. Whatever decision you are taking, your policies, your actions must be seen to be serving the public purpose, the public need, not your own purpose, not your need. You don't transfer your idiosyncrasy on the head of the Nigerian people or on the head of my state or on the head of any other person and call that leadership. Leadership, you are serving the people, you are a servant. So a leader is supposed to be a servant. Every 80-90% of what he's doing must be seen to be serving the public good. That is what good leadership is all about. The moment people are screaming about the way you run your state or your local government or your country so much, then you are not a good leader. I'm not saying people should not complain. When people complain, government should actually come out in a way to explain policy so that that policy will have a buy-in from the people. And if you explain the policy for people to buy into that policy and still the people are not buying into that policy, it means that policy is not good. That policy is not good. You don't force it on the people. You should find a way of explaining your policies to the people for people to buy in if the people did not understand. But if they insist that this is bad for them, then you abandon it. You are not there because your mother gave birth to you as governor or as senator or as president. You are there because the people put you there. You are employers. In this case, the people. Your employers say they don't want what you are trying to do, so you stop it. That is what makes a good leader. A good leader must not see himself as being more intelligent than the people he's leading.
Thank you very much, Prof. This has been deeply